Some titles don't just take your time, they own it. We're not talking about games here, we're talking about fully immersive worlds. So, if you're looking for the kind of game, that kind you just can't put down, this is the best list of games you'll find. Let's kick things off with a title which has pretty much transcended gaming into a whole new lifestyle. You don't play Skyrim. You just keep coming back to it every few years, starting a new character, and somehow ending up as the leader of every major faction, despite originally planning to just stick to one guild this time. That's the magic of it. The world is so reactive and packed with distractions that it's impossible to stay on track. You'll set out to deliver a letter, and before you know it, you're knee-deep in a cave full of Draugr, dual-wielding enchanted axes, and screaming dragon shouts at a frost troll. And let's talk about longevity. If you somehow manage to finish every quest in the base game, which is already a lot, the DLCs add even more content. Dawnguard alone is practically a game in itself, letting you pick between hunting vampires or becoming one.
I'd heard the stories of the abilities of Dragonborn, but to see it for myself?
Well, Dragonborn takes you to Slothtime, which is packed with its own unique culture, dungeons, and flying tentacle monsters. And that's just the vanilla game. Mods turn Skyrim into whatever RPG experience you want. Hardcore survival, high fantasy, anime fever dream, you name it. There's a reason people still sink 500 plus hours into this game over a decade later. Let's dive into a game that brings tabletop RPGs to life with insane levels of immersion. It's of course the award-winning Baldur's Gate 3. The game's deep mechanics are rooted in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition's rule set, offering intricate systems for leveling up, spellcasting, and dialogue choices. Each character class has unique abilities and progression paths, giving you an immense sense of customization. Whether you're playing a cunning rogue or a powerful wizard, the skill trees and special traits allow you to craft a build that feels truly yours. What makes Baldur's Gate 3 so compelling is how it combines these mechanics with incredible storytelling and player choice. Your decisions ripple through the world, shaping relationships, alliances, and even the fate of entire regions. The turn-based combat alone in this one is a rabbit hole of strategy and combos. You start off just trying to survive, but before long, you're pulling off ridiculous tactics, using grease spells to make enemies slip into fire, stacking buffs to make your bard a tank, or just shoving bosses off cliffs for the sheer disrespect of it.
Have you seen this place? It's incredible!
And that's before you even get into the replayability. Want to see how the story plays out as an evil Dark Urge murder machine? Or how different it feels to roleplay as a pacifist diplomat? Every run is a completely new experience, making this one of the easiest games to lose yourself in for hundreds of hours.
Let's make this interesting.
If you thought Baldur's Gate 3 was deep, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous laughs in your face and hands you a 500-page rulebook. This game is dense. It's the kind of RPG where you can spend hours just on character creation, tweaking stats, classes, and abilities to craft the perfect build. But that's what makes it so addicting. You're not just playing through a story, you're shaping a world with your choices, leading armies, and making decisions that ripple across an entire war against demons. This isn't a game you casually breeze through. Every encounter requires thought. Every dialogue choice can have massive consequences. And the sheer number of playstyles, so if you want to be a righteous hero, a ruthless tyrant, or something in between, no two runs will ever be the same. And once you start messing around with the mythic paths, unlocking ridiculous god-tier abilities, you'll realize just how deep the RPG rabbit hole goes. 100 hours? That's just the warm-up. Now for a more recent title that you guys will all know and love, especially if you sometimes get tired of the usual magic spells and dragon prophecies. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is the perfect change of pace. There's no chosen one storyline here, just gritty historical medieval life. You start off as an ordinary guy, barely able to swing a sword properly, and over time you actually learn how to fight. Every action you take matters. If you try to brute force your way through the game without training, you're gonna get wrecked. But if you spend time improving your skills, learning how to fight, how to talk your way out of trouble, even how to read, you'll start to feel like you're actually growing alongside your character. That's what makes this game worth sinking time into. It's not just a power fantasy, it's a journey. You earn your victories, whether it's surviving a brutal skirmish or charming a noble into giving you valuable information. The world reacts to you in ways that make even the smallest choices feel meaningful, and that's what keeps you coming back for more.
Is that what you really want, son?
If you thought you'd seen the 200 plus hours of content Elden Ring had to offer, Shadows of the Erdtree offers a ton of extra content. I mean, the base game was already an absurdly massive RPG, but this expansion somehow adds even more. More bosses, more cryptic lore, more jaw-dropping landscapes that make you stop and just stare for a minute before remembering something is probably about to kill you. You're looking at a new adventure stacked on top of an already massive game. And if you've played Elden Ring, you know it's not just about beating bosses. It's about mastering the game's systems, experimenting with new builds, and pushing yourself to see just how far you can go. You'll start off getting absolutely wrecked by some new god-tier bosses, only to come back 50 hours later and annihilate them with a build that makes you feel unstoppable. It's the perfect loop of challenge, discovery, and triumph that keeps you playing long after you've technically finished the game.
Any longer and it might have been too late for you.
If you love Dark Souls but wish it had even more depth in its combat, Nioh 2 is your game. This isn't just an action-packed RPG, it's a masterclass in combat. Every weapon has multiple stances, every enemy requires a different approach, and every fight can either feel like a brutal struggle or an absolute power trip, depending on how well you've mastered the mechanics. What makes Nioh 2 worth spending 100 plus hours in is how much there is to learn. Figuring out the best weapon combos, when to use yokai abilities, and how to optimize your build for maximum efficiency. And then there's the loot. Ooh, so much loot. If you're the type of player who loves tweaking gear, hunting for the perfect stat bonuses, and turning your character into an unstoppable force, this game will keep you hooked for a long time. Some RPGs are long because they're bloated with repetitive content. The Witcher 3 is long because everything in it is worth doing. Every quest, every conversation, every weird little side encounter feels like it has meaning. You start a simple contract to track down a missing person, and suddenly, you're in the middle of a morally gray political conspiracy where there are no easy choices. It's one of the only games where you'll want to do every side quest, just because the writing is so damn good.
Ciri's disappeared somewhere, of course.
And then you have the expansions. Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine aren't just add-ons. They're full-fledged RPGs in their own right. Blood and Wine alone is basically another Skyrim-sized adventure, set in a brand new region with a completely different tone. It's lighter, funnier, and a perfect way to wrap up Geralt's story. Between the deep character progression, the open-ended contracts, and the sheer joy of just existing in this world, it's no wonder people sink hundreds of hours into it. Now let's quickly talk about instant gaming, the best way to get your games for less money than you would from retail. Whether it's new releases, bestsellers, or upcoming pre-orders, you'll find them at a discount for PC, PlayStation, and more. Unlike shady key marketplaces, instant gaming only sells keys from authorized resellers, so you're getting legit products at great prices. Plus, with a top Trustpilot rating and 24/7 customer support, you can buy with confidence. Personally, I've been using their service for a while, and always had a great experience. And that's why we're happy to partner with them. Check out Instant Gaming through the link in the description and start saving today. Dragon Quest XI is long because it wants you to soak it all in. Every charming town, every beautifully designed monster, every bit of that classic JRPG goodness. This game doesn't just give you a massive world to explore, it makes sure every moment in that world is filled with heart. The combat is turn-based perfection, simple enough for newcomers, but with enough depth to let you fine-tune your strategies. And the story, filled with charm. It starts off as your typical chosen hero journey, but evolves into something much more emotional and rewarding. You're growing alongside these characters, experiencing their highs and lows in a way that makes the 100-hour journey feel meaningful. And let's be real, If you're playing Dragon Quest XI, you're probably doing the true ending, which means you're in for one of the most satisfying RPG finales ever. Not many games can demand weeks of your time and still make you want to start another playthrough. But Persona 5 Royal isn't just about the hours. It's about how effortlessly it keeps you engaged for that long. Every day in the game is a careful balance between dungeon crawling, socializing, and making tough choices about how to spend your limited time. Do you grind for better gear, build relationships with your teammates, or just hang out at a cafe to boost your stats? And that's what makes the game so immersive.
Persona, ravage them!
And the story? It's one of the best in RPG history. Uncovering deep conspiracies and watching these characters grow in a way that feels earned. The extra content in Royal adds even more depth, making this already massive game feel like an even more complete experience. If you want a game that completely pulls you into its world and makes its huge playtime feel like nothing, Persona 5 Royal is the game.
He's not alone! Find him!
Okay, now for one of my all-time favorites. There are great RPGs, and then there's Mass Effect 2. This game pioneered modern RPGs. It's a game where every squad mate has depth, and by the time you hit the end game, you're fully invested in your team's survival. It's not just about blasting through space missions, it's about forging relationships, making tough calls, and seeing how those choices ripple across the entire galaxy. The main story alone is fantastic. The real magic is in the loyalty missions. Each one tells its own compelling, often emotional story, making your crew feel like real people rather than just RPG party members. And if you want the true Mass Effect experience, you're replaying this game to see every outcome, every dialogue choice, and every possible way the story can unfold. 100 hours? That's just getting started, especially if you're importing your save into Mass Effect 3. The Assassin's Creed series has flirted with RPG mechanics for years, but Odyssey fully commits to the genre, delivering a sprawling open world, deep progression systems, and some of the best combat in the series. You're a full-blown warrior shaping your destiny in ancient Greece through dialogue choices, skill trees, and some ridiculous mythological boss fights. We thought about maybe including Valhalla in this list, but there's just something I love about grinding levels in the Greek sun that puts this one a little bit ahead for me. What makes this game so huge is its freedom. You can follow the main story, sure, but the world is designed to make you want to explore. Whether it's tracking down cults, engaging in massive battles, or just getting lost in the beauty of ancient Greece. If you love open world RPGs where you can carve your own path, this AAA title has aged extremely well. Now let's talk about another game you can get lost in for hours. There's a reason people are still playing Breath of the Wild years after release. The game is overwhelmingly huge, and every inch of Hyrule is packed with discovery. It could be a hidden shrine, Korok puzzle, or some ridiculous physics-based trick you can pull off with bombs in a metal box. It's the kind of game where 100 hours doesn't feel like a grind because you're constantly finding new ways to have fun. Sure, you could stick to the main quest and take down Ganon in a reasonable amount of time, but why do that when you can explore every inch of this stunning world? Mess around with creative combat strategies, or just spend hours cooking weird food combos to see what happens. The fact that people are still finding new mechanics and tricks years later tells you everything you need to know. This game is designed to be an endless adventure. Final Fantasy XV is one of those RPGs that sticks with you, not just because of its massive world or action-packed combat, but because of its heart. At its core, this is a road trip with friends, a coming-of-age story wrapped in an epic fantasy adventure. You're not just leveling up your characters, you're growing up alongside them, experiencing their struggles, and experiencing their bond as they face impossible odds. This is a game that's built for long play times. There's a massive open world to explore, insane high-level hunts to tackle, and an endless stream of side quests, from fishing to photography to finding the perfect cup noodles recipe. And with the Royal Edition expansions, there's even more content to sink your teeth into. If you're in the mood for a long, emotional RPG that gives you the freedom to explore at your own pace, Final Fantasy 15 is it.
West, they chased us over the mountains. They ran us into the sea.
Not all RPGs need magic and swords. Sometimes all you need is a dusty frontier, a good horse, and a revolver. Red Dead Redemption 2 is an RPG in its truest sense. Not just because of its massive open world, because of the way it lets you shape Arthur Morgan's journey through player choice, morality, and sheer immersion.
You're going down now.
The game is long because it wants you to slow down, to soak in every detail of its living, breathing world. For example, the fast travel isn't really that fast. The cutscenes are long and take their time to build out. But that's what makes it so special and immersive. Every town feels unique. Every random encounter has weight. And every side quest feels like it could be its own mini-story. And that's before you even touch the hunting, the fishing, treasure hunting, or just getting into trouble with the law. If you want a game that makes 100 hours feel like a true journey, Red Dead Redemption 2 is untouchable. If Baldur's Gate 3 proved anything, it's that people still love deep, choice-driven RPGs. But before that, there was Baldur's Gate 2, a game that set the gold standard for Dungeons & Dragons style RPGs. This game is big, not just in terms of length, but in how much it lets you do. Every quest has meaningful choices, every character has depth, and every battle requires careful strategy. I remember playing this one when I was younger and spending hours in its world. Looking back, I hardly scratched the surface. You don't just breeze through this one, you commit to it. There are countless spells, party combinations, and ways to approach every situation. The world reacts to your decisions. By the time you reach the end, you feel like you've carved your own legend. If you love deep, classic RPGs that reward patience and strategy, this is one of the best ever made. Next, we have the title that proved Larian are one of the best gaming studios out there. Few RPGs are as dense as Divinity Original Sin 2. Every inch of this game is packed with meaningful choices, hidden secrets, and some of the most creative combat in the genre. You can teleport enemies off cliffs, set entire battlefields on fire, or even talk to ghosts to get extra lore. Every fight feels like a puzzle. Every playthrough offers new possibilities, and with co-op, the entire experience becomes even more unpredictable. This game has a ton of choice and dialogue options as well as an insanely addicting combat system. It's a trademark for Larian Studios. This is one that you have fun and experiment with. Every system, from crafting to persuasion to the way you approach battles, has layers of depth that make replaying it an absolute joy. And once you're done with one run, you immediately want to start another, just to see how different things can play out. If you finish Baldur's Gate 3 and want to try something similar, this is the one for you. What started as one of gaming's most infamous launches has turned into one of the best modern RPGs. Cyberpunk 2077 always had the bones of a fantastic RPG, but Phantom Liberty elevates it into something truly special. The world of Night City feels alive, filled with branching quests, deep character customization, and enough cybernetic upgrades to make you feel like a ninja Terminator. When I played this one for the first time, it took me a little while to get into it. But once I did, the game completely sucked me in. It's one of those games where the story just gets better and better the longer you play. By the time you're done, you're left emotionally exhausted, but still wanting more. The expansion adds even more depth, introducing new abilities, new factions, and some of the best writing in the entire game. And with the massive overhaul that came with Update 2.0, the game now plays as smoothly as it always should have. If you love immersive, choice-driven RPGs that let you play your way, this is absolutely worth diving into. Most RPGs tell a story. Bannerlord makes you write one. You don't start as a chosen one, a legendary hero, or even a particularly important figure. You start as a nobody, scraping by with a handful of mercenaries trying to carve out a life in a brutal medieval world. But over time, you become a legend. Maybe you rise through the ranks of an existing kingdom, proving your worth in battles and political schemes. Or maybe you forge your own empire, uniting or conquering the fractured lands of Calradia under your banner. This one you can honestly spend thousands of hours in if you wanted to, especially with mods available. The sheer depth of Mountain Blade are in its systems. You can play it like a grand strategy game, managing armies, influencing nobles, and controlling the economy. Or you can charge headfirst into battles, fighting alongside your troops in massive chaotic skirmishes. Every choice you make, who you marry, which wars you fight, which nobles you befriend, or betray, shapes the fate of your story. Maybe you'll become a feared warlord, maybe you'll be a cunning diplomat, or maybe you'll just run a trade empire, amassing wealth without ever drawing a sword. There's always something new to do, and the freedom Bannerlord offers is unmatched in the RPG space. If you want an RPG where 100 hours feels like just the beginning, this is it.
Sit down and face forward. Now I don't have a lot of time.
Few games let you live in their world quite like GTA 5. Whether you're playing through the cinematic, action-packed story causing chaos in Los Santos, or diving into GTA Online, this is the kind of game where the hours can disappear without you realizing it. The single-player campaign is one of the best Rockstar has ever created, letting you switch between 3 distinct protagonists, Michael, Franklin, and Trevor, each with their own motivations, skills, and wildly different personalities. The heists are some of the most fun missions in any open-world game, but you guys have played it all, right? The real-time sync here is GTA Online.
Get in your buggy. One of you's driving, the other's on the machine.
Rockstar has built GTA Online into a full-blown RPG. You can climb the criminal underworld, run shady businesses, build a fleet of custom vehicles, and engage in some of the most elaborate and ridiculous heists in gaming. Even a decade after launch, there's so much to do that it can almost be overwhelming. But that's what makes GTA 5 such a perfect long-term RPG. You can play it again and again, and it still feels new and exciting. Final Fantasy XII is the black sheep of the series, but in the best way possible. It took the classic turn-based combat of previous games and transformed it into something deeper, something tactical. Instead of controlling every action and battle, you program your party's AI using the Gambit system, essentially turning fights into a mix of strategy and automation. Done right, your team can function like a well-oiled machine, reacting to enemy weaknesses, healing at just the right moments, and executing devastating combos, all without you micromanaging every move. The system alone makes Final Fantasy XII one of the most unique RPGs out there. But what really makes it a 100+ hour experience is everything else. The world of Ivalice is huge, filled with sprawling dungeons, hidden bosses, and some of the toughest hunts in Final Fantasy history. There are entire areas that you might never find on a casual playthrough, and some of the best loot requires serious dedication to acquire. While it trades the usual melodrama of Final Fantasy for a more political, Game of Thrones style plot, it's packed with fascinating characters, backstabbing nobles, and grand-scale wars. The Zodiac Age remasters only enhances the experience, tweaking the progression system to allow for more customization, and refining visuals and sound. If you love RPGs that let you tinker with mechanics, optimize builds, and explore every inch of a beautifully crafted world, Final Fantasy XII is an absolute must-play. Guys, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Gamewise. Thank you if you watched the video till the end, and see you in the next one.